Guy Madison was a star who people thought of as a tough cowboy. He was really good at playing this role. There was another side to Guy Madison that people did not know about. He liked men. He had relationships with some other actors who were also gay. This was a secret because back then people would not have liked it. Guy Madison had to be careful, so he kept his life quiet. He was a hero to a lot of people. He had to hide who he really was. Guy Madison had to live two lives, one for the public and one that was private. Robert Ozell Mosley was born on January 19, 1922 in Kern County, California. He grew up in a town. This was during the Great Depression. Robert Ozell Mosley did not think he would become a movie star. He went to Bakersfield College. After that, Robert Ozell Mosley studied how to take care of animals because he wanted to work on a farm. Then World War II happened. This changed Robert Ozell Mosley's life. He joined the U.S. Navy. Robert Ozell Mosley worked with radios in the Pacific. The time he spent in the military taught him to be disciplined and humble. These qualities of his later showed up in the way he acted on screen. His military experience really helped shape his on-screen presence. The discipline and humility he learned in the military became a part of his acting style. Something big happened to Madison in 1944 when he was on a break in Hollywood. That is when a man named Henry Wilson, who helped people get jobs in movies, saw Madison and thought he looked like a movie star. Henry Wilson liked Madison's look. In 1944, Madison was in his movie called Since You Went Away. He did not have a part in the movie, but people still noticed him. People liked the way Madison looked. He seemed like a guy. This is when David Elsnick decided to give Madison a contract so he could be in movies. Madison's cut image was something that people really liked, and that is why David Elsnick wanted to work with him with Madison. In the 1940s, Hollywood made him a big star, and he was in movies like Till the End of Time with Robert Mitchum in 1946 and Honeymoon in 1947. People really liked him because he seemed genuine and nice. He became really famous when he played Wild Bill Hickok in The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok from 1951 to 1958. He wore cowboy clothes, was always with his friend Jingles, who was played by Andy Devine. The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok made Madison very popular, and lots of people watched him on television. Madison was great in The Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok, and people loved watching Madison in this show. The program was on television and radio at the time. This really helped make the entertainment scene what it is today, which people call the golden age of Western entertainment. The program also made Madison a well-known name, so much so that everyone knew who Madison was. People really looked up to Madison when he was a kid. You could see his picture on lots of things like lunchboxes and cereal boxes and comic books and movies that played on Saturdays. Even though he was famous, Madison kept his personal life pretty quiet, and not many people knew much about it. When Madison went to rodeos, fans would wait in line just to meet him because he always seemed like a nice guy. He was always warm and polite and willing to give to others. Madison was really big on television, and at the time he kept acting in movies all through the 1950s and 1960s, making lots of westerns and action movies. The Charge at Feather River is one of his famous movies. It came out in 1953. This movie was special because it used cool 3D sound effects that people had never heard before. People were amazed by The Charge at Feather River. When people in America stopped watching westerns, Madison kept working on movies in countries. He made a lot of spaghetti westerns and war movies in the 1960s. Even though these movies did not have a lot of money to make them, Madison still worked hard. People in countries still liked watching him in movies. Madison and his movies were still very popular. In the 1970s, Madison slowly stopped acting, but people who liked Western movies still loved Madison, and Madison got the Golden Boot Award in 1996 because Madison did a lot for Western movies. Madison's personal life was really complicated. He got married to actress Gail Russell in 1949. Gail Russell was a beautiful and talented person. She had a lot of personal problems, like being very nervous in social situations and drinking too much. Madison helped Gail Russell a lot when they got married. After a while, all the problems they were having became too much for Madison and Gail Russell. So they got divorced in 1954. Though they were not married anymore, Madison still felt bad for Gail Russell and tried to help her in his own quiet way. Madison was still very kind to Gail Russell. After he got divorced, he married Sheila Connolly, who is an actress. This happened in October 1954. They got married in a ceremony in Juarez, Mexico. Lots of people got divorced quickly in Juarez back then. Sheila Connolly loved the outdoors and family like Madison did. They had 3 girls together. Their girls are named Bridget, Erin, and Dolly. Madison really loved being a father. He was very famous and had to travel a lot. This made it hard for him and his family to be close. They decided to separate in November 1960. They finally got divorced in April 1963. Even though Madison and Sheila Connolly were not married anymore, Madison still stayed close to his daughters Bridget, Erin, and Dolly. Madison loved his daughters much. Madison got really close to Georgia Mole, who some people call Gakala. She is an actress, and a lot of people like her because of the way she looks with her Irish features and the way she acts in movies. I am talking about Georgia Mole. She was in this movie called The Guns of Navarone in 1961. Georgia Mole and Madison really cared about each other. Their relationship was not easy. Georgia Mole had some problems like feeling really sad and drinking much alcohol. Before Georgia Mole died in a way, in 1972 she did something very nice for Madison. Georgia Mole said that Madison should get her part of the money from the Screen Actors Pension Fund. A lot of people think that Georgia Mole did this because she loved and trusted Madison. Madison had a son named Robert Madison from another relationship. This son, Robert Madison, was raised in Italy. He started acting in television shows and spaghetti westerns. Robert Madison was carrying on the work that his father Madison did. Even though they were apart and did not see each other for a long time, Madison and his son, Robert Madison, stayed very close. Madison would give Robert Madison advice. Tell him to keep going using the things he learned from his own long career as Madison. Madison was a man that people looked up to. He was like a symbol of what it meant to be a man in the middle of the century. He played the role of Wild Bill Hickok. That is what a lot of people knew him for. Madison had a way about him. He looked like a regular guy from a small town, and he was very confident in a quiet kind of way. This made Madison very popular with women back in the 1940s and 1950s. It was not until after Madison died that people got to see the real him through letters he wrote and conversations he had that were recorded. In those letters and conversations, Madison talked about his feelings and the people he cared about, including actors that he was close to. Madison was open about the relationships he had with these actors, how they had to keep their personal lives private. Madison's life was more complicated than people thought. He was not just the tough guy that people saw in movies and television shows. I want to tell you about the people Madison was close to. The first person on this list is Ramon Novarro. He was an actor in silent films, especially in Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, which came out in 1925. Ramon Novarro was a sensitive and intuitive person. Madison remembers the times they spent together in Palm Springs and the meetings they had in West Hollywood, where they could be themselves for a little while. The second person on the list is Tyrone Power. Madison recalls Tyrone Power as someone who seemed confident in public, was actually struggling in private. Madison and Tyrone Power would have meaningful conversations late at night about what it means to truly love someone, and this was not the kind of love that people usually talk about in Hollywood. Madison talked about meeting Anthony Perkins, the guy from Psycho. She said they had an emotional connection, even though it was short. Anthony Perkins was a sensitive person, and they were both scared of some things. The thing that really gets to her is what happened with Rock Hudson. He died in 1985. That is when people started to talk about all the secrets in Hollywood. Madison said that Rock Hudson seemed happy and nice to be around, but inside he was struggling. She remembered having dinners with him and sneaking away for a little while, and it meant a lot to her. When Madison writes about these things in her book, it is not about her own life. Madison's memoir is about more than her own story. It is about Rock Hudson and Anthony Perkins and the things they went through and Madison's experiences with them. This was a tribute to all the actors from a generation who loved each other in secret. The actors had to keep their relationships quiet and be very careful. The actors really loved each other. He said that the actors found happiness in things like laughing together, hugging each other, and watching the sun come up. The actors did all this even though they were always under a lot of pressure from the movie studios to behave. They were scared of people finding out and it being a scandal. The actors had to pretend to be someone when they talked to the press and when they took pictures, and this was really the best acting job the actors ever did. He still likes to think about the times like when he found secret notes, exchanged sneaky looks, and had quick touches. With the person he loves, the joy found in hidden notes, the joy of knowing glances, and the joy of stolen touches. Madison moved away from Hollywood to Marengo Valley in California. He lived in the desert. This is where he had a ranch-style home. It was surrounded by nature. Madison liked to ride horses and take care of his garden. He liked the life. This is what he wanted for a time. Madison got sick with emphysema. This disease is bad for people who smoke. It made it hard for him to breathe. He got weak. Madison still talked to his friends and the people who liked him. He stayed in touch with his friends and fans. Madison liked this. On February 6, 1996, at the age of 74, Guy Madison passed away at Desert Hospital Hospice in Palm Springs, California. He was buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Cathedral City. His funeral was simple and heartfelt, attended by close friends including Don Burnett, who remembered Madison as humble, loyal, and dignified. In the end, Guy Madison was remembered not only as a Western hero on screen, but as a man who lived with quiet courage, grace, and authenticity throughout his life.